Hey everyone, it's Casey. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a book talk slash review slash discussion on a book that I just finished reading and I loved it so much. So that book is This Adventure Ends by Emma Mills. I had been so excited to read this book, but I kind of put it off for like 2 months. And then I ended up picking it up and I'm so glad I did. I love this book so much. And it's an interesting book, which is why I wanted to do the discussion on it, in that I didn't find it to be perfect. There were definitely some things I had problems with, and it's just, this is like a contemporary, so it wasn't, like anything, like, deep or that, like, profoundly affected me, but I just enjoyed it so much. I gave it 5 stars, and I wanted to talk more about it. So this book is about, it follows a girl named Sloane who just moves to a town in Florida. She's from New York. She ends up making friends with this group of friends. There's twins, Vera and Gabe. And then there are they used to be a couple, but they had broken up like before the book starts, like over the summer. And their name is Remy and Aubrey. I don't know why I'm telling you the names. So this group of friends, the 4 friends, are super close tight, and then they kind of adopt Sloane into it. They meet Sloane at a party where Gabe is about ready to get punched, and she kind of steps in and says, like, prevents him from being punched. And so they kind of adopt her into their friendship. And so this book is about their friendship. It's about Sloane kind of learning how to be a friend and everything. And there is a romance, and there is kind of like a quest thing that her and Remy go on to find something that's of importance to the twins. I don't want to give it away or anything. So Sloane, the main character, it's written in first person, and it's through her perspective, and she is a very kind of dry and sarcastic character, and she is very relatable, I find. She's very quick, very smart, but she kind of does this thing that I found really relatable, and I'm sure a lot of people will, is that they undervalue themselves and overvalue other people's. Like, she talks a lot about how Vera is such a good example of how to be a friend, and that she herself is not a very good friend, when me, being like the third party observer, I mean, Vera was like a normal friend. Like, I didn't think she was like a superb friend, you know. She wasn't out buying like Louis Vuittons for everyone, you know. She was just like a normal, how friends should be, calling you, texting you, you know, caring about you. But she wasn't like crazy, like a crazy guru of friendship or anything. And Sloane, in the same way, she wasn't that bad either. I think that she kind of had a wall up, and then that's kind of what like maybe prevented her from being the friend that she wanted to be. But I did think the concept of Sloane undervaluing herself and overvaluing other people was something that's very relatable. I know I do it. People all the time say like how smart and funny I am, and I don't think I'm like super smart or super funny. You know, I think I'm kind of just normal. And so I think that sounded kind of braggy. People are always talking about how smart and funny I am, but you know what I mean. I'm sure there's things where people tell you all the time and you just don't believe them because you're with yourself all the time. You're like, no, I'm not actually like that. But really what you're doing is undervaluing yourself, you know. Anyway, I found that to be super relatable. The book was so funny. Like, I laughed out loud at times, and like I openly smile, and I don't laugh out loud at books or movies that often. So it was, I don't know, it was funny. I enjoyed it so much. I also really loved the character of Sloane. I thought she was really dynamic. And she kind of, I don't really enjoy first person all that often. I preferred third person. But I enjoyed like being in her head. I thought, you know, again, she was funny. She was so quick. She was so observant. And she came to life in a way, like, this is such a well-written book. And again, it's not To Kill a Mockingbird, but it's one of the best contemporaries that I've read in a while. Another thing I really liked about this book is that Vera is she's like a YouTuber or something. It doesn't really touch upon it that much, but it does say that she has like a big social following, like on Instagram, and I'm guessing on YouTube. I can't really remember exactly because it didn't talk about that much about it, but she has a girlfriend, and I really liked that Emma Mills didn't make the fact that she was a lesbian that big of a deal. Like, it was just mentioned. It was mentioned that she had a girlfriend. That Sloane didn't talk about it. Vera didn't make a big deal about it. When Sloane's dad like learned that Vera had a girlfriend, he didn't say anything about it, and I really like that. I feel like a lot of times in YA, not even YA, I feel like in books in general, the gay character is always that. They're always the gay character. And so I liked that Vera was gay, but that wasn't like anything about her story, like her being gay. Like, that wasn't something about her. She wasn't the gay character. She was just a character who happened to be gay. And to be honest, I think that's what we need more of in literature or on TV, is where because I think that's where true acceptance comes in, right? You don't have the token fat character, you know, you just have a character that's also happens to be fat. Or you don't have the token black character, you just have this character happens to be black, you know, or gay or whatever. I think we need more of that instead of making all of these, you know, the fat person is always going on like some weight loss journey that changed her life, or the gay character is always having to deal with that, which, not to say that if there were more books of this, that Vera being gay would somehow, because it would impact her life, and I'm sure she would have negative experiences, you know, from discrimination, things like that. But it was just very refreshing that was not like such a big deal that had to be like harped upon. Also, so Sloane's dad in this book is a famous author, kind of like a Nicholas Sparks kind of guy, and who wrote like romances, and they're kind of cheesy and stuff, and he's kind of going through a writing slump. And so to get over it, he starts writing fan fiction for essentially like a Teen Wolf kind of show, and I loved that storyline. I have this thing where I love when books mention fan fiction. I loved Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and this one, I guess I've only read 2 books that have mentioned fan fiction in them, but I love it. I think I don't know, I just think it's hysterical when they mention fan fiction. So I really liked his storyline, and he was like such a good dad. I wish my dad was like that, but he's not. Anyway, it was just so funny to see like a grown man like being invested in these like teen werewolf characters and then writing fan fiction about it. So I really like that part of the book. The last thing that I really loved about this book is that at the end of it, not everything was like perfect and not everything was solved. I mean, it definitely was solved in a way that gave, like, I feel satisfied having read this. But do I know everything about like her life and can, you know, imagine in the future? No. But I really liked it, and it seemed to be so realistic. You know, so many times with contemporaries, like the last fifth of the book, everything gets tied together perfectly, and it's kind of like a happily ever after. And I liked that this left like a few strings loose, that like I wasn't, you know, it wasn't perfectly all sewed up, and her life wasn't suddenly perfect at the very end of this book. But again, like, I got the conclusion that I wanted. So those were all the pros about this book. Like I said at the beginning, there were some cons to this I do want to talk about, because again, it was not a perfect book by any sort. It was not a perfect book, like, at all. So the first con I have is I felt like some of the other characters were flat and one-dimensional. Like I said, Sloane was super dynamic. She jumped off the page. But I felt like some of the other characters, yeah, were just like flat, and you only know like one thing about them. And I feel this way kind of about the other main characters, like Vera and Gabe, I would say, like, are the other 2 main characters in this book. And even them, like, we don't really know much about them. It was a little bit like Emma Mills was telling us rather than showing us. Like, she was telling us that Vera was such a good friend, but I didn't really think that she was like a great friend. I thought she was a good friend. I didn't think she was like abnormally great. Or they talked about how great of a guy Gabe was. And I mean, he was a nice guy. I don't think he was the nicest person on the planet. Even with the two other friends of the main group that I briefly mentioned, Aubrey and Remy, the only thing we know about them is that they used to be in a relationship. Like, you don't know anything else about them. And so, I don't know. It's just, I wish some of the other characters would have been fleshed out a little bit more. And I think I probably, like, this, in a sense, would have been the perfect book for me if it was written in third person, because then you do get to see more of the other characters and get to see more of their life rather than just solely through the lens of Sloane and how these other characters related to Sloane. I guess I just enjoyed these characters so much. I just wanted to know even more about them instead of only how they related to Sloane. Like, I wanted to know what's going on in their home life. You know, where are they going to go to college? I want to know that. I love these characters. There were also a couple of topics that were kind of mentioned in the first half and then never talked about again, and I wanted more of it. So one of the things is that she got a job at a grocery store where Gabe worked, and so you see her go, like, get the job, like, go through the interview, and then they never talk about it ever again. Like, they never talk about, oh, I had to work that Saturday, or no, I can't go to that party, I have to work, I'm struggling doing my homework with all the work. They never talk about that job again. And it's just like, but then why have her go on the application? I guess or on the interview, because I guess because she got to interact with Gabe during the interview. I don't know. It felt weird. Like, at least mention it a couple other times, down the road. I also would have liked to see more of Vera's online persona. That was said to be, at the beginning of the book, such a big part of who she was. And Sloane's dad ends up following Vera on all these social media accounts. And I don't know, I guess I would have wanted to mention, to hear more about it. Because, right, if they are friends and they're spending a lot of time together, Vera would have had to make YouTube videos, or she would have had to take photos, or something that maybe Sloane could have helped on, or something. Like, you can't just have this presence and then, like, never do any work for it, that's going to impact your friendships. So I wanted more of Vera and how famous she is online. I wanted more of that. I also wanted more of Sloane and Gabe together alone, because they are the love interest. Gabe is Sloane's love interest. And I wanted to see their relationship build more than just being, like, hearing Sloane say, like, oh, I like him. Like, how? Like, you've spent, like, hardly any time with him. Like, I wanted that to build a little bit more and to get more scenes just one-on-one. Because a lot of times, since Vera and Gabe are brother and sister, they're twins, they when they hung out, like, when they hung out, it was all three of them together. And so I wish that there would have been some more alone time instead of just, I don't know, almost like Gabe having this crush. I don't know. The relationship for me, I wanted more. I guess that's my whole, like, problem with this. Well, not problem. My only suggestion for this book is that I wanted more of these characters, of the town, of the friendship, of the relationship, and the, like, love. I wanted so much more of this book. This could have, honestly, if this was a Morgan Matson book, it would have been like 500 pages. Morgan Matson books are so long. And I would have enjoyed every second of it. So, to sum this all up, because I've already talked 18 minutes about this YA contemporary, something that pretty much, people don't really have that passionate of thoughts about. I think this shows the importance of that. I feel like on YouTube, a lot of times when we rate books, we always expect them to be perfect. And I think one of the things that we're often lacking when we talk about a book or when we are rating a book on Goodreads is the enjoyment factor. And so for me, the enjoyment factor of this book completely outweighs all of those cons that I just listed out. I had such a fun time reading this book. These characters were so refreshing. The story was fun. And I freaking loved every second of this book. And so it's definitely worth a 5 out of 5. Even though, you know, in lesser hands, it may have gotten like a 3.5. But I love this so much. That it's definitely like a 5. I'm going to end up, I think I'm going to give my sister this copy and then buy myself the hardcover version of it. Because I want her to read this. She's 14. I think she would freaking love it. And if she doesn't, then she's no longer my sister. No. But I think she would really enjoy it. I've recommended it to my mom, who's like a big reader. I freaking love this book, and I cannot wait to read more of MML's books. And hopefully they will have the same enjoyment factor, even if the book isn't perfect, even if there are not plot holes, but even if there are problems with it, that's okay, because I really hope that I enjoy all of her writing as much as I enjoyed this book. So I would definitely recommend you all to read this. If you've ever read it, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to discuss this with you and like what were your favorite parts, or was it as funny to you as I thought it was? Did you laugh out loud at work while eating lunch? Because I did. So that's it for me today. Please subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.